A very good day to one and all present here. Thank you all for joining us in this ManageEngine's Endpoint Management and Security Solutions webinar. So let me proceed and begin by introducing myself. My name is Nisha Balaji. I'm a product marketing specialist associated with ManageEngine, and today for this session, I will be your presenter. As you all know, ManageEngine has a wide range of products under endpoint management and security. Products like an umbrella solution, UEM, which is Desktop Central, exclusive mobile device management solution like Mobile Device Manager Plus, OS Deployer, Remote Access, and under security, we have Vulnerability Manager Plus, Patch Manager Plus, Browser Security, and so on. In case you need to know in detail about these products, please feel free to visit the below mentioned URL. So with this note, let me once again welcome you all to this Desktop Central training session, beginning now for distributed workforce. As you all know, this is a 6-week training program. The first 2 weeks, you would have come across in detail about patch management and about the endpoint security add-on for Desktop Central. Today in this session, we will be seeing in detail about software deployment and applications management. In the upcoming weeks, we will be seeing about asset management, remote control, and configuring and onboarding your Desktop Central UEM. In case you've missed the training session or you want to revisit the training videos, you can visit the below mentioned URL. For all the registered participants, you will be receiving the recorded session of this particular module to your registered email. Now, during this session, in case you have any questions or queries, feel free to ask them in our panel or chat box. We have expert panel members who are connected here and can answer any of your queries. And not to forget, for all the registered participants of this series, you will be receiving a certificate, a ManageEngine participation certificate after completing this series. So with this note, let us move on into today's topic, which is software deployment and software management. The agenda for today's session. We'll have a quick overview of what exactly is Desktop Central all about, and then we'll see how you can manage your distributed workforce. We'll see certain scenarios on how you can get your compliance of the business applications in your various endpoints and how you can deploy or upgrade applications in all your network devices. We also see how to make use of the special feature in Desktop Central, which is self-service portal, using which your users can automatically install the applications all by themselves. Also, we'll have a quick walkthrough on the architecture of the product, and we'll discuss some most commonly arise scenarios and some frequently asked questions. During this session, in case you have any additional questions, feel free to post them in our chat box. Our expert panel members connected here can answer any of your queries. So to begin with a basic question, what exactly is Desktop Central? Desktop Central is an endpoint mobility management solution that enables you to manage all forms of endpoints in your enterprise from a single centralized location. Desktop Central also offers a UEM edition whose capabilities cover the entire endpoint security and management spectrum. So what exactly is UEM? Unified Endpoint Management is an evolution and combination of enterprise mobility management, mobile device management, and client management. UEM considers different devices and platforms to bring cross-platform security and management to your IT departments, thus enhancing the scope and device administration and data security. Why exactly do we need UEM? Today's organizations are dealing with heterogeneous devices for their employees who are mostly on the go or working from home. So, with more diverse mix of devices entering the workplace, IT administrators have a hard time managing these various device types and different operating systems. So, then they came up with an approach that offered a unified solution for managing all types of endpoints, applications, and content used in a business ecosystem. Traditional endpoint management has difficulties which are eliminated by Desktop Central's umbrella approach. Also, with this, you can combine your traditional management and modern management capabilities in a single console. Now, what is the popular operating system which comes to your mind when I mention modern management? Of course, it's Windows 10. ManageEngine's unified endpoint management solutions have a diverse range starting right from Desktop Central to exclusive patching solutions like Patch Manager Plus, mobile device management, browser security, detecting and identifying your vulnerabilities, having a complete control on your applications and devices, and deploying or updating your operating system. And the best part is, all these capabilities can be combined in a single console. So, what are the types of endpoints that you can manage with Desktop Central? To name a few, you can manage your regular desktops, laptops, mobile devices and tablets, servers, and point of sale devices. Also, you can completely manage and secure browsers, which are the entry point of most of the cyber attacks or cyber threats in every organization. So you can manage all of this using Desktop Central. To give you a quick brief on the awards and recognitions of Desktop Central, ManageEngine is recognized in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Unified Endpoint Management Tools for 2 consecutive years. To know in detail about this, you can visit the below mentioned URL. Now let us quickly go with the components required for installing and managing your endpoints using Desktop Central. Desktop Central has 3 essential components. Being a client-server architecture, Desktop Central requires a primary server installed in the server of your head office, and agents should be installed in all the endpoints that needs to be managed by Desktop Central. You also have something called notification server. Now, this notification server comes into play in case of on-demand task. Whenever you want a task that has to be immediately executed, it is this notification server which contacts the Desktop Central agent, which pulls down the instructions from your central server. You also have few other additional or optional components for using Desktop Central. One of it is your distribution server, your secure gateway server, your failover server, and your language packs. We'll discuss about this in detail when we see the architecture of the product. So here are the supported operating systems in Desktop Central. Desktop Central supports all the 3 major operating system flavors: Windows, Mac, and Linux. Here's a detailed overview of all the operating systems that are supported by Desktop Central. Next, let us move on to agent installation methods. So as I said, it is completely necessary that all your endpoints should have the Desktop Central agent installed in them for Desktop Central to manage them efficiently. You can deploy the agent in multiple methods. Here are three common methods that you can use to deploy your agents to your target devices. One of them is deploying your agents through the group policy in an Active Directory. In case you have an Active Directory setup, you can deploy your agents via GPO. Another method is to automate your agent installation directly from the web console. From the scope of management, you can locate your devices and automate this agent installation process. Another frequently used method is manually installing your Desktop Central agents. You can simply download the agent.exe file and install it in your target machines. We also have a few other methods for agent installation. To know in detail about them, you can post them on the chat box. Our panel experts will help you out with this. So moving on, why exactly do we need a specific tool for managing and deploying your software? There are three major challenges, especially when it comes to software deployment in an organization. One, you'll have to make business applications available to all your users, and that too, they'll have to install it at their own convenience. Now, these are problems that are most commonly arise, especially now in a distributed workforce, where you have half your devices or your users away from your IT network, and the rest of them being back to office after a huge work from home period. Also, to ensure that there are no vulnerabilities with applications that are present in your devices, you will have to ensure a strict mode to restrict any kind of messy applications being installed by your users. Now, with more and more people opting to work in a remote environment, there might be multiple requests to install different applications as per the user requirement. And this may pile up your help desk requests. So to manage all of these and tackle all these challenges, you would require an efficient software deployment tool. So let me quickly give you a brief on how software deployment architecture works with respect to Desktop Central. As you already know, Desktop Central is a client-server model. So in a Desktop Central, you have software repositories. We have two types of repositories. One is your network share and your HTTP repository. So your network share repository can be used for your local area network agents, those within your organization or within your head office. So for these devices, the files are directly present in your network share repository, and your agents will simply contact them directly and download the agent files without the use of internet. Your HTTP repository can be accessed by both your LAN and WAN agents. So in case you have multiple remote offices across the globe, to deploy your applications, you will have to store the template and the packages in your HTTP repository. Let me quickly show what would be the differences and why do we opt to have two types of repositories in your network. Like I said, network share repository can be accessed only by your LAN agents, whereas your HTTP repository can be accessed by all your LAN, WAN, and roaming users. Now, advantage of having a network share repository is that there's no limit for the file size that can be stored. But in HTTP repository, you can store up to 7 GB per package. Having a network shared repository would require setup and frequent maintenance, but no such setup and maintenance is required in case of HTTP repository. Let me quickly take you to the product console to show how you can easily configure your repository's path. Under Software Deployment tab, Under Settings, you have Software Repository. Now here, by default, when you install the product server, a default network share folder would be created. But if in case you want to store the packages in an existing shared folder, you can choose this option and provide the path of the particular shared folder. You can also provide credentials for accessing this shared folder. Similarly, for HTTP repository, you'll have a default repository created. In case you want to change the location of the packages being stored, you can provide the path in this new location. So in this way, you can change or configure your repository paths. So right now, as I said, some of them are still opting to work from home, and a few other users are opting to be back in the office. Are you among them in this back to office battle? So let us take, for example, that here John and his IT team are responsible for managing corporate endpoints at their office and their work from home machines. They have their head office in Dallas, where they have multiple remote offices spread across Chennai, Sydney, London, and so on. And they also have a few work from home machines and roaming users. So let us see how John and his IT team can manage all these devices and also tackle the back to office challenges that these devices must pose. So as you can see, John and his IT team are responsible for managing their distributed workforce. When they are managing your users, every organization would have come across these three types of users. One is your regular user with your VPN access, those who are mostly on the go, your roaming users or maybe your sales team. So they would already have an existing VPN option. For these users, you would not make a lot of changes in your security and management policies. A majority of the organization would have the second type of users for whom over the last year, when you suddenly migrate to this work from home culture, you would have to make a lot of changes to your existing security policies and enable a new VPN access. A few organizations also have the third type of users who do not require any VPN access because most of their applications are cloud-based. So let us see how us and John and his IT team can manage all these three types of users efficiently. So while managing these distributed workforce, especially when it comes to a work from home environment, you would have a few challenges. The first one is while enabling this work from home setup. The very first would be to check your internet bandwidth, provide a proper VPN access, and ensure that most of your files and your corporate data is cloud based. While managing your devices, you need to ensure that you can update new devices into the organization's IT network. Also, allow your BYOD devices of your users and also manage your LAN and your remote offices. The most difficult part comes for securing these devices. You need to ensure that you're on a constant lookout for any kind of vulnerabilities and patch them immediately if detected. Ensure you take preventive steps in securing your browsers, your applications, and lock down your devices. So all of these has to be done to ensure that you completely secure your IT organization. So here is a simple workflow for your network access control. Now this will come in handy when you face problems related to your applications, especially now when they are back to office. Now, when they are out of their ID network, your devices may have new applications installed with or without your IT administrator's permission. Now, this may be non-compliant with your organization's IT security policy. So with the network access control in place, you can ensure that a proper workflow is followed, wherein the applications will first be unquarantined and they can ensure that the applications are completely verified, whether the version installed, the applications, if it is in update with the organization's security policy. Only when it is in compliance with your security policies will it be allowed to be a part of your IT network again. So this network access control will ensure that you won't have any non-compliant machines in your IT network. For more details about this process, please visit the below mentioned URL. So now let us move on to a few use cases and scenarios that John and his IT team face while managing their distributed workforce. The very first step is if you want to get a non-compliant business report of all the applications present in your endpoints. Say, for example, I want to get a report of all the devices which do not have Microsoft Teams and Office 365. How do I go about this? Let me take you to the product console and quickly show how this can be done. In the console, go to Reports tab, and here, let us create a custom report. Now provide a name for your report. Say it's going to be work from home applications. And now I want to ensure that all the devices which do not have Microsoft Teams and Office 365 are listed. Now select the columns that you want to be displayed. So once I select my required columns, you can run and save this report. Now let me choose any random application to just demonstrate on how this report will be generating. Now, once I have this, you can see the list of applications which do not have this exact application, the computer details, the IP address, and the domain details. You can choose to export this either as a PDF, a CSV file, or an LXXI file. So in this way, you can easily identify on how to generate reports based on the endpoints which do not have your business applications. Now, my second step would be to deploying my business applications to these devices. So first, let me deploy Microsoft Teams to all these computers. Deploying an application is very simple using Desktop Central. Click on Software Deployment tab and go to Templates. Desktop Central has over 8,500 templates, predefined templates available. Now, your template will contain your application name, the version, the type of operating system that it supports, the location of the particular package, your silent installation and uninstallation switches. In case you deploy an application frequently and wish to get it added as a template, you can click on here and provide the application details. So it is always recommended that you first check under the templates to see if your application is already available and then proceed to creating a new package. So now let me search for Microsoft Teams. So I have Microsoft Teams existing over here. It is simply sufficient for me to click on Create Package. A package will automatically be created in my packages list. Now, since I have the package already created, let me quickly show you. Click on the Packages tab. And here, let me search for my Teams package. So I have Microsoft Teams available. Select your package, click on Install Uninstall Software, and you can choose to deploy this package either as a user configuration or as a computer configuration. Now in this case, I'm going to deploy this as a computer configuration. Provide an appropriate name for your configuration. Say Microsoft Teams. And you have the package details you want to install. You can choose to install multiple packages in a single configuration. Now in this case, let me retain Microsoft Teams alone. And you can also choose to install this package either as a default system user or the user that is currently logged on. You have something called scheduler settings where you can schedule on when your particular application will be installed in your target devices. Say, for example, I am creating this application package, but I want this package to be installed only after a specific date. I can provide the date and time only after which this particular application will be installed in my target devices. Similarly, you can choose to provide an expiry date for this particular package. So if you provide a date, say 5 days after this particular configuration is created, after this date, your applications will not be deployed to your target computers. Then you have something that's very important, which is your deployment policy. Now, you can choose to use any one of the existing deployment policies, or you can create your own deployment policy. Let me quickly show you how you can create your own deployment policy. So here, provide a name for your policy and choose your week split, a regular split or based on your patch Tuesday. Your regular split is your usual Monday to Sunday, whereas your patch Tuesday is based on the second Tuesday of every month. Since this deployment policy is common for both your patch and software deployment, we have this criteria. Now, since I'm going to use this deployment policy for my applications installation, I'm going to go ahead with my regular split. Choose your preferred days and weeks for deployment. Say I'm going to choose my first and third week, and the days be the first 3 days of the week. Now choose your deployment window. Say I'm going to use this as a regular 9 to 5 thing. So I want my deployment window to be available only from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can add multiple schedules if required. And then you can choose to initiate this deployment either during the system startup or during the 90-minute refresh cycle, or whichever happens earlier. Next, you have something called pre-deployment settings. You can choose to automatically wake your computers before deployment. Also, you can choose to download your software binaries during the subsequent cycle, which means during the next refresh cycle, my complete package details will be downloaded in my target computers, but the installation will take place only during the deployment window. Also, you can choose to notify your end users about the software deployment. You can provide a message title and also choose to allow your users to skip the deployment if required. Finally, you have something called reboot policy, where you can choose to reboot your endpoints after the application is being deployed. Reboot, shutdown, or do not prefer any of these options. So once you completely configure your deployment policy as required, you can click on Save. So here, I'm going to choose my existing deployment policy. And now choose your target computers. Now here, you can choose to deploy these applications either to all your remote offices or simply filter them out based on your requirements. Now here, I want to deploy this particular application for John and his IT team only for those devices which do not have Microsoft Teams. So for this, I will create a custom group. Let me quickly show how you can create a custom group. Under Admin, Global Settings, you have Custom Group. Now here, click on Create a New Group. Let me choose Computers. Provide a group name. Now you have three types of custom groups that can be created here in Desktop Center: static unique, and dynamic. Static is those group of computers where you will have to manually add the devices to this group. Static unique is a group where devices which are part of one static unique group cannot be a part of any other static unique group. Now, dynamic group of computers are those where you provide a list of criteria based on which your devices are dynamically added to this particular group. Now, in my case, I'm going to choose dynamic group and select the criteria where devices which do not have Microsoft Teams. Now, once you provide this criteria, you can click on Save. So here, your custom group has been created. In case you want to create a static group, then you can automatically add the list of computers from your list and create a new custom group. So right now, I've created a dynamic custom group. Now I would select all my remote offices and filter it out based on the custom group. So you would see the list of custom groups available. Select your created custom group. And in case you want to exclude any one of the computers, you can choose to exclude based on the computer name or based on the IP address range. So once you've defined your target, next you have is your execution settings, where you can choose to apply this configuration at every startup or during every refresh cycle. Once you have this option, you have another option to retry this particular configuration on failed targets. Now, when an application is deployed, if at all the endpoints are out of the network or out of reach, or if they are shut down, in such cases, your application may not be successfully deployed. So in such cases, you can choose for a number of times where this particular application configuration will be redeployed on such failed targets. Also, you can choose to enable notifications of the complete status of this configuration. To enable notification, you will have to configure your main server settings. So let me quickly show you. On the admin tab, you have mail server settings. So once you've created this, you can notify via email, provide the email address of your IT administrator or your IT technician who would receive the notifications about the complete status of this configuration. You can also choose to opt for mobile app notifications. Now, once you've completely customized this according to your needs, you can choose to deploy or deploy immediately. Now, deploy immediately suggests an on-demand task. So, an on-demand task can be restricted to a maximum of 200 endpoints. When you click on this, this configuration will immediately be deployed to your target computers during the next refresh cycle. So now that I've customized this, I'm going to choose on deploy. So this is how you deploy a particular business application using templates to a specific group of computers. As I already told, in Desktop Central, we have over 8,000 predefined templates across Windows, Mac, and Linux. So next, let us see how you can deploy a commercial application like Office 365 to a specific group of computers. In case you have any questions in deploying an application from templates, please feel free to post your questions in the chat box. So now let us go ahead and take a look at how you can deploy Office 365 to your specific group of computers. Once again, in the product console, let us first check under the templates tab to see if this application is available as a template. So I'm going to check for Office 365. Now you have Office 365 listed here, but instead of the action create package, you have learn more, which says this is a commercial application where you'll have to manually create your packages. Now here you will have a complete page with all the details required to manually creating a Office 365 package. The very first step would be to downloading your Office 365 tool. Click on the Microsoft web page and download your deployment tool. So you'll have the deployment tool ready. And the next step would be extracting the contents of the particular exe. Go to command prompt. And here, copy this particular command, paste it here while just replacing your file path of your source and your destination. So once that is done, you will have the folder completely extracted. Now the next step is customizing the installation. You will have a configuration.xml file in this extracted folder where you can copy the complete contents as given below. Here's your configuration.xml. So replace the contents in this particular file. Now your final step is downloading your complete package. Now once again, you can select this particular command, go to your command prompt, and replace your source and destination file path. So once it's done, you will have your setup.exe and your configuration.xml file ready. So all that remains is to just deploy this application package in Desktop Central. So let us go to the product and see how you can add this application package. Click on the Packages tab under Software Deployment. Click on Add Package and select Windows. Provide your package name. So here it's going to be Office 365. Your package type is going to be exe. And since it's a commercial software, I'm going to choose the license as commercial. Now you can choose to upload this installable from a shared folder if your package files are in the network share, or choose to upload it from your local folder for your HTTP files. Now, while uploading the files over here, it is recommended that you zip the files together. So you zip your configuration.xml and setup.exe together as a zip file and upload it in the product console. I've uploaded here. And then you have a few activities. Here, you can provide the installation command with the silent switch. So here in this document, you will have the complete details of the installation command. Provide the path details and copy this command directly. After which you have a few pre-deployment and post-deployment activities. So before deploying this particular package, you can check for a few conditions before deploying this package. Say, for example, you want to check on the application version, or you want to check on the free disk space. You can choose to configure them. For example, say that my application does not have Microsoft Teams, or in case you want to check the free disk space. Say, for example, in C drive, it should have a minimum of 1000 MB. Only after this condition is satisfied will your package be deployed to your target computers. Similarly, you also have a few post deployment activities like creating a shortcut or providing custom scripts and even your file folder operation. So you can configure it according to your needs. Similarly, you have your uninstallation settings like your pre and post deployment activities. Once you've completely configured over here, you can click on Add Package. Now, since I already have the package created, select the package and once again, click on Install Uninstall Software. Choose Computer Configuration. Provide a name for your configuration. Once again, provide scheduler settings if necessary. Select your deployment policy. I'm going to reuse the same deployment policy. And once again, choose your target computers. So here, again, if you want to deploy it only to a specific group of computers, it is recommended to create your custom group and then filter it out based on the custom group that you've created. Also, configure your execution settings and choose in case you want to receive any notifications via email. Once you've completely configured this, click on Deploy. So this is how you deploy a commercial application like Office 365 by creating your own independent package and deploying it to your specific group of computers. In case you have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat box. Next, we have a scenario where you'll have to impose proper application control to restrict non-business applications. So for this to be done, in the product, you have a special tab called Application Control, which enables you to blacklist or whitelist applications. So under Application Control, click on Application Groups and choose to create a list. Say Here, let me create a list for blacklisting. Select those applications that you require. And go ahead and create this list. Now, once you've created an application group, you can choose your deployment policy where you can associate your policies with the particular groups that you have created. Select the custom group that you create. Choose the application policy that needs to be associated. Say, for example, the blacklisted group that you create or a whitelisted group that you create. You can select those and choose either to deploy this policy in the audit mode or in the strict mode. Now, audit mode enables that except all your blacklisted applications, your whitelisted and graylisted applications can be used in your target endpoints. But in strict mode, only your whitelisted applications will be allowed to be installed in your target devices. So with these, you can ensure that a proper application control is in place in all your network devices. So we have one scenario. John and his IT team is receiving a lot of help desk tickets to install various business applications. How can this be minimized? Now, as I said in the very beginning, Desktop Central has a special feature called Self-Service Portal, using which you can enable your end users to install applications all by themselves. Under Software Deployment tab, click on Self-Service Portal and choose to publish your software packages either as a user or as a computer. Say, let me choose computer. Select or create your own custom group. Now, say, for example, I choose a custom group. Select your applications. Now, say I have these applications. In case you have Service Desk Plus installed and integrated with Desktop Central, you will have an option where your end users will require your approval, your IT administrator's approval prior to installation. Otherwise, you have an option where the users can automatically install these applications without a proper approval mechanism. Say I have such categories, I click on Publish. Now, all these applications will be available to my end users window. My users can access self-service portal from their Desktop Central agent icon. So once you open your self-service portal, you can see all the list of applications that are available to the users in a particular custom group that I've created. Now, here in these options, they can automatically install the applications if at all they require, and they wouldn't require any IT administrator's approval. But in my case, I have Service Desk Plus integrated in Desktop Center. So for Adobe applications, the users will have to request your IT administrator and they will have to grant access for installing these applications. So in such case, your IT administrators can monitor on how and when your commercial applications are being installed by your end users. So in such cases, they will send a request to your IT administrator. Now the self-service portal approval workflow is quite simple. Your client computers or your end users, once they find a commercial applications which require your IT administrator's permission, they will send out an installation request, which will be forwarded to the Desktop Central server and reach the Service Desk Plus server. A technician at Service Desk Plus will review your particular request and can choose whether to approve or not. In case he approves your request, this will again reach out to your Desktop Central server and automatically your Desktop Central server will trigger the installation of the particular commercial application in the client machines. This is how self-service portal works when you've integrated Desktop Central with Service Desk Plus. Now let us see a few common error messages that you may receive when you're creating a package. One would be that the system cannot find the path specified or the access denied. When you're creating your application package, you will be installing or providing your path and the silent switch for installation. The easiest way to detect this is to go to your command prompt and replace the complete command, the path, and your silent switch. If this returns without any error, it means there is no error in your path that you have specified. So with this, let us quickly move on to Desktop Central architecture. As you all know, Desktop Central is a client-server model where you will have the central server installed in any of your head office server machines. All the devices that needs to be managed by Desktop Central needs to have the Desktop Central agent installed in them. Now, when you have multiple remote offices, say in our case, John and his remote offices in Chennai, in London, and Bogota, with more than 100 devices, when it comes to replicating application packages for all these individual devices, say a package size is going to be more than 1 GB, then it will consume a lot of bandwidth. So in which case, you can choose to opt for an additional component called the distribution server. So when you have a distribution server in place, this will communicate with your Desktop Central server, replicate all your patch and package details for applications, and internally, your remote office agents will just have to download it from your distribution server. When you have your roaming users or multiple remote offices reaching out to your central server, it may pose security issues. So to add additional security to your central server, we offer another component called your secure gateway server, which completely masks your central server and provides a complete cover wherein your agents and your remote offices, distribution servers, they can only reach your secure gateway server, which in turn will communicate with your central server. Now, since central server is the heart of this architecture to function, you can take additional precautions by installing another additional product called the failover server. So in case you have a failover or a secondary server installed, even if the central server, the primary server is down for 2 to 5 minutes, immediately your secondary server comes into play and starts generating instructions to manage all the connected endpoints. You also have one other additional component called the multi-language pack, which you can use to customize the product in your own preferred local language. This is the architecture of Desktop Central for a closed network. In places like defense security, the computers are hosted in a demilitarized zone to secure the machines from data breaches. Desktop Central can even manage such devices in a closed network where the server has no internet connection. You can also host Desktop Central Server in Azure and AWS Marketplace. You also have Desktop Central's own cloud option where the complete UEM solution is now hosted on cloud. So as I said before, you have Desktop Central's very own cloud model where you can embrace unified endpoint management in the SaaS way. Next, let us take a quick look into the 90-minute refresh policy. Desktop Central maintains a 90-minute refresh policy wherein each device will contact the Desktop Central server with a 90-minute interval. Now, this refresh policy eliminates your bandwidth choking and also enhances your server performance. Here are the port details used by Desktop Central. Desktop Central's primary server uses the HTTP port 8020 and the HTTPS port 8383. The notification server uses the TCP port 8027. You also have additional components for voice and video chat, remote control, and file transfer, which will be explained in detail in the upcoming sessions. To know in detail about the ports used by Desktop Central, you can visit the below mentioned URL. So now let us move on and look into few most common scenarios, and I'll be providing solutions in case you encounter such scenarios in your network. So can we check the existence of the application on the machine and skip the installation? Can we automatically redeploy the application if it gets uninstalled? To check the existence of the machine, you can choose while creating your application package itself, as I said before, you can choose to check the application in your pre-deployment settings. So here, check for the application details, and if at all the software is already installed, you can choose to bypass and not install the application in the particular machine. Is there a way to base installation of dependency app first? So I have an application that needs a database installed first. So this is very simple. When you're going to deploy your application packages as a configuration, now say for example, I'm going to deploy this computer configuration. You can ensure that multiple packages are deployed at the same time. So click on Add Package, select your database package or any other packages if necessary, and choose and rearrange in such a way that your base application is installed first, after which your current application would be installed. So in such a way, you can ensure that all your target devices have the DB installed and the application that you're currently going to install in the target machines. I have a third-party application that does not support silent installation. How can I install it? So again, this scenario is quite simple. Now here, under Configure, Install, and Install options, you have an option where you can allow your end users to interact with the installation or uninstallation window. So this comes in handy when you do not have a proper silent installation switch. So in this case, your end users will simply have to navigate to the simple installation wizard and complete the product installation. Here's the next scenario. I have a set of applications including MS Office and CRM deployed for my sales team. I want all new salespeople to have these applications installed on their computers automatically. How can I do this? This is again quite simple and can be deployed as a configuration. Now click on the Configurations tab, and here under Settings, go to Configuration Settings. Now you can choose to select either of the systems options wherein if a new computer or user is added to the OUR group, the configurations available for that particular group will automatically be deployed either during the system startup or during the refresh cycle. I tried to deploy a business app to a computer, but it has failed. Is there a way to troubleshoot it myself? Well, yes. Let me quickly show how this can be done. Under Software Deployment tab, when you're creating your own application package. Now say here under additional settings, Let me choose one of the existing packages. Say, let me go for Skype. And now, under Advanced Settings, ensure that you check this box which says Enable Logging for troubleshooting. So now once this is done, it will generate logs into your agent directory in your target machines. So using these logs, which are present under the Desktop Central Agent folder, you can troubleshoot it all by yourself. Here's another scenario. When I create a package using templates, what happens if a new version of the application is released? For this, you have another new option which is available now in Desktop Central, which is called Auto Update of Templates. When you select this option, you can enable automatic updates for the packages that you have created. Now select application packages that you've created and add these software. So once you enable this, your application packages will automatically be created. And you can simply choose to deploy this updated package to your target computers. Especially now when it comes to a self-service portal, once you enable auto update, the packages will automatically be updated and the latest version will be available in the self-service portal. Here's another scenario. Can we perform Windows 7 to Windows 10 upgrade using software deployment? Why, yes, you can create an application package for Windows 10 and deploy it as you've deployed the commercial application Office 365. Create the application package, make customizations as required, and choose it as a computer configuration and deploy it to your target devices. So now let us move on to some most common questions that have been asked during our chat sessions. Here's the first question. What if I don't have self-service portal link on the menu? How can I find it? In the product under software deployment, under settings, you have self-service portal settings. Your self-service portal can be displayed on the agent tree icon or as a desktop shortcut or in the start menu. How do you monitor the status of the deployment, like how many workstations have been installed or how many remaining or fail? Once again, this is quite simple. Under Software Deployment tab, you have an option called View Configurations. So here you'll have the list of configurations where you've installed applications and the status of the configuration will be clearly deployed. You can have the execution summary status present over here. Here's the next question. If you're using a secure gateway server in our setup, do all the external clients still need to connect to the HTTP portal for the software? Yes, they cannot go directly to the network share. All your external clients will have to connect to your HTTP repository to install the application packages. If I want my software package to be replicated to a remote office, how do I achieve it? Your software packages need to be uploaded in the HTTP repository for it to be replicated in the remote office. When multiple softwares are deployed in a sequence, if the first package fails, does it attempt to continue? Well, no. If when you're deploying multiple packages, when your first package fails, it does not proceed with the next package. But you can choose to enable notifications where your IT administrators or IT technicians will receive up-to-date status of the particular application. If you configure a schedule and the computer is not online at the time of schedule, will it be in queue to install when the computer comes online? If the deployment window is still open, the application will be in queue to install when the computer comes online. Here's one more question. So we have 11 technician licenses on Service Desk Plus and have only one technician license on Desktop Central. Is it possible to set the self-service portal with only one technician license? Well, yes. The technician licenses are different in Desktop Central and on Service Desk Plus. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. Please do rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 would be the best. Our next training schedule would be about asset management module, and it will be held on February 17, 2021. Do spread a good word on social media about this Desktop Central free training series so that our other customers too might benefit from this training program. In case you would like to schedule a personalized demo, or if you require any assistance in deploying your or maintaining your application packages, please do post a yes on your chat box. Our technician will contact you soon on your preferred date and time. Thank you all once again for joining us in this free training series session.